Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Sandy Smith, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Officer Cadet Tobias Moore. We warmly welcome the family of Corporal William Nicholas Ruddick, whose story will be told shortly. We also acknowledge and welcome the Indonesian delegation hosted by Royal Military College Duntroon. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the pool of reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you are able, I now invite you to please stand and join in singing the national anthem. If you are able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and in operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Corporal William Nicholas Ruddick. William Ruddick was born on the 12th of September 1896 in St Arnaud, Victoria. He was one of 10 children born to William and Esther Ruddick, though 2 of the children died during childhood. When William was still young, his family relocated to Eaglehawk in Bendigo. He worked as a labourer in Mildura while serving for 6 months in the militia, parading part-time with the 73rd Infantry Battalion, known as the Victorian Rangers. William enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 2nd of July 1915 in Melbourne. As he was under the age of 21, he was required to provide signed consent from his parents to support his enlistment. A few weeks after his enlistment, his cousin Gilbert also joined the AIF. Together, they were allotted to reinforcements of the 22nd Battalion. Before embarkation, William was given the rank of acting corporal. After 2 months of initial training, William and Gilbert departed Melbourne in the troop ship HMAT Aurora on the 27th of September 1915. The cousins arrived in Egypt in late 1915, and in early January 1916 were taken on strength of the 22nd Battalion at Tel El Kebir. On the 1st of February, William was promoted to corporal. William and Gilbert were separated on the 12th of March, when Gilbert was transferred to the newly formed 2nd Pioneer Battalion at Moscow, while William remained with the 22nd Battalion. After spending 3 months around the Suez Canal, William and the 22nd Battalion left Egypt in mid-March 1916, arriving in southern France soon after. The battalion travelled into northern France, and in early April, the men experienced their first taste of life in the trenches on the Western Front near Fleury. The battalion spent May and June alternating between frontline service and work behind the lines or in the reserve around Erkingham and Bois-Grenier, before travelling south to the Somme in mid-July. Just before the move south, William was admitted to the 7th Field Ambulance, suffering from abrasions to his left leg. He rejoined Bravo Company of the 22nd Battalion in the Somme Valley before the planned Allied offensive at Pozières. The high ground around Pozières provided an essential advantage to German troops. British units in the area had attempted to capture the village or force the Germans back, but each offensive had been costly and unsuccessful. Attacks on German positions around the village began on the 23rd of July 1916. Over the next 42 days, the Australians made as many as 19 attacks in the area, determined to retain control over the high ground. Success came at a cost. Allied casualties numbered 23,000. The 22nd Battalion entered the firing line at Pozières for the first time on the 27th of July 1916 and was immediately thrust into the bitter fighting. It remained in the front line until the 31st of July, when it was withdrawn to the trenches in the Sausage Valley. While in the trenches, William was temporarily promoted to corporal. At 5:30 p.m. on the 4th of August, the battalion returned to the front-line trenches for an attack which began just after 9:15 p.m. By dawn, the battalion had captured and consolidated its objectives. Over the next day, the battalion successfully held its new positions in spite of German artillery fire and heavy casualties. It returned to the Sausage Valley trenches that evening. From the 27th of July to the 8th of August, the battalion sustained 651 casualties, including 91 men killed. Among the dead was Corporal William Nicholas Ruddick, who was killed in action on the 5th of August 1916. He was 20 years old. William Cousins Gilbert also failed to survive the war. He was killed by enemy shelling in July 1918, aged 21. When news of William's death reached Australia, tributes from family and friends flooded into local newspapers. On the first anniversary of his death, his parents and siblings inserted a short commemorative poem into the Argus in his memory. Midst the roaring of the battle and the rain of shot and shell, fighting for home and country, he, like a hero, fell. William's body was not recovered from the battlefield at Pozières. He is commemorated on the Australian National Memorial at Villers-Bretonneux alongside the names of 10,000 Australians who died while fighting in France and have no known grave. His name is also listed on the Roll of Honour to my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of many of the stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Corporal William Nicholas Ruddick, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we who are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of our director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.